Leslie Owusu. Thank you for joining us today. You have been nominated as one of the famous Black women of Slough. How does that feel?
When I heard the news, I was totally shocked and happy and very proud as well to have been considered even to be a woman of influence and a Black woman in our community to have that kind of honour. So I'm over the moon.
Oh, thank you. So what's your journey been like through athletics? So tell me about you and who you are and your journey through athletics.
Yeah, so athletics and sport is a big part of my life. I always say it's almost an extension of my DNA, and it's been a part of me from as long as I can remember from a child. And at the moment I kind of won my first race as a child, just from having a random race in the school playing field, gave me that confidence that I could run fast. And I knew that from that moment, if I had a gift or a talent, I could work hard and see where it would take me. And it took me all the way to run for my country.
Very good.
And win lots of medals in the way.
So what does Black History Month mean for you?
I think Black history is about celebrating Black culture and history through the years. I think for a modern and contemporary audience, it's about knowing your roots and heritage. I was very lucky that I lived in America, and I studied a bit of Black history in terms of my studies. And one of my figures that I really admired was Frederick Douglass. And during the abolitionary years, Sigourney, what's her last name? Sigourney, I want to say Weaver, but I know it's not Weaver. She was one of the freedom fighters. It's just slipped me right now. But people like Langston Hughes, all these like poets and writers that their literature is still here today, who spoke about, the fight for equality and human rights, and amazing figures. And I was very lucky to meet Maya Angelou when I was studying, and she was one of my, great African American women, in terms of her life story and what she did, in terms of promoting Black women through her Still I Rise and Phenomenal Woman.
So do you consider yourself to be part of history?
Essentially, I would say my role, especially in the Slough community as a sportswoman and as a woman of colour who has competed for not just Slough, not for the county, but for my country, and gone on to the Commonwealth Games and World Championships and Europeans. I've got my little mark. I like to think that I've made my historical mark, and I'm very proud of all my honours and races that I've won. I still have a British record for the 600, which is 20 years old this year. I ran it in 2001, 1 minute 17.92, which is just outside the world record. And that was a very tough event, and I'm still proud to be the record holder. So not just in terms of history of records, but also as someone who has contributed to sport for many years.
Okay, so what legacy would you say your parents have given you?
I think my legacy my parents have given me and instilled is that to love what you do in life and live your best life through all your attributes. And mine just happened to be sport, and also being able to have a certain charisma for my studies as well, which was journalism I studied. But my legacy is combining that kind of sports, journalism persona and Africans in especially Great Britain, because I had a similar situation when I lived in America with the African Americans and the Africans, and
Yes.
I was kind of between, because I was kind of not African American,
Yeah.
and I wasn't British American.
Yeah.
I was just British Ghanaian and me. But then you got the people that are from Africa, and there was such a conflict, and they had separate groups. Like you had like African students and African People's Union and African Americans, and essentially we're all from Africa. But yet the African Americans were like too cool to hang out with the Africans because they saw them as almost as inferior.
Yes.
To that extent. And there's a sense of, I don't know how you define that kind of discrimination or stigmatizations if one within your own race is superior because of your actual birth origin, and then all the Americans think that they're from Africa anyway. I know when my parents came here, a lot of Caribbeans came at the same time, and often they had the same struggles in terms of trying to get housing, to trying to raise their family. But yeah, as time went on and people started to bet themselves, they had a certain status and a class system essentially. And I think it's better today, but ultimately the kind of history is still there. And I think we're just raised slightly differently in terms of some of our belief systems and how we speak to adults, for example, and how we refer to our elders, to some of our customs. Obviously, even the Caribbean, there are things that you would never do that Africans do, and it's all boils down, I think, to customs and traditions, and they do vary across Africa, but in the Caribbean they're entirely different. So those aspects.
Yeah, so I guess my question then is around, tell me about the challenges that you may have experienced as someone who was born in the UK, born in Britain, and then went to Ghana to live as a child, and then came back to Britain.
Yeah, I'm very proud of my multicultural heritage. The fact that I was born in the UK, but I was kind of made in Ghana and then raised back in the UK and became a British champion in sport is a great journey. But within that journey, I've experienced obstacles in terms of my identity. And like I said, my identity is I'm Leslie Owusu. But growing up, my siblings and I were the only Africans at the school at the time. And then there was the Caribbean family that also came around the same time. But clearly, as black children, we identified, but then we knew we were very different because you have this kind of Caribbean, West Indian divide versus the African. And a lot of it all comes down to education and how perception is. I personally believe that we're all one essential unity of race as black people, regardless of whether you're born in Africa or the Caribbean or in the Americas or somewhere else. So I think in modern society, there are still certain challenges because there's still this kind of stereotypes and some of the historical maybe backlashes of maybe one race of black people think that they're more superior or one being more inferior, and that needs to stop because it doesn't help us grow as human beings, never mind the race.
During your time in athletics, did you experience any of those sort of challenges?
No, not personally, but I always knew that I was an African girl on the track running for Great Britain, and my counterparts that were also black athletes, a lot of them were typically West Indian, from Jamaica, Trinidad, wherever their parents are from. So, and then I would have some Nigerian friends that I would meet that were on the track that were also on Team GB, and I think that Africans naturally gravitate to each other because we know we're like neighbours, whereas the Caribbeans, from my experience, from people that I was growing up with, always thought they were a little bit better. And it's a weird thing to know that at young age that they think that they're superior, but it's just the way they maybe act or talk or conduct themselves. I personally never let it get to me because I always knew that my parents raised me to be proud of who I am, regardless of anything. But I think there's some stigmas still associated with that conversation.
And what can we do to break down those barriers?
I think it all boils down to, because that's all a part of me, and I'd like to be remembered for someone who made a difference on the track and tried to inspire others to love sport and to know that it can keep you fit and healthy, can give you opportunities to travel around the world. I got to meet the Queen through being a sportswoman. How many people get to do that? And these are all things that happen because I pushed myself and performed at a high level.
Okay, so what legacy would you like to leave for your children?
I would like them to know that their mum tried their best and she worked hard and she never gave up, and that she was someone who made a little difference in the community, and for them to even recognise her even in this light is amazing. And to have that kind of the archive in history, to know that I was a bit of a champion for positive change, and through sport I springboarded other things that sports has enabled me to do. Most people in the Caribbean speak their either dialect or it could be broken English, but they haven't got their own language. Whereas in Africa, in Ghana for example, there's like 20 languages that can be spoken.
Yes.
And that alone defines us as being quite distinctive from the Caribbean culture. We also have certain traditions when it comes to marriages and births that you wouldn't practice in the Caribbean. So again, education. Come and see my world and show me your world, and I think that will help break some of those barriers.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.